6 o'clock Thursday morning, we begin with breaking news from our nation's capital.
The votes for President of the United States are as follows. Joseph R. Biden, Jr. of the state of Delaware has received 306 votes. Donald J. Trump of the state of Florida has received 232 votes.
So at 3:38 a.m., the joint session of Congress finally certifying the results of the Electoral College. They were read aloud, as you just heard, by Vice President Mike Pence. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris will be sworn in as the next president and vice president just 13 days from now.
And President Trump released a statement just about an hour or so ago saying, quote, "Even though I totally disagree with the outcome of the election and the facts bear me out, nevertheless, there will be an orderly transition on January 20th. I have always said we would continue our fight to ensure that only legal votes were counted. While this represents the end of the greatest first term in presidential history, it's only the beginning of our fight to make America great again."
Certification vote delayed, of course, for several hours after this scene. The mob, incited by President Trump, storming the Capitol building yesterday afternoon. It took law enforcement nearly 4 hours to clear the Capitol grounds.
And when the dust had finally settled, 4 people had died. A woman shot inside the Capitol building. She later died at an area hospital. 3 others died from medical emergencies.
At last check, 52 people have been arrested, but more arrests are expected. Which continues now of the chaos at the Capitol, as we mentioned. 4 people died during yesterday's violent protests in Washington, including one woman who was shot. Capitol Police have not released her name, but a San Diego man believes it was his wife who was killed. 35-year-old Ashley Babbitt. Aaron Babbitt says his wife, a military veteran, was a strong supporter of President Trump, who went to Washington to meet up with friends. Aaron says he was watching coverage of the chaos on TV when he says he saw his wife dying on the screen.
I sent her a text. Clearly, it's within a half hour of the point of her dying, but I sent her a text saying, "Hey, can I get a status check?" And I never heard back from her.
Lawmakers are vowing a full and complete investigation into how police handled yesterday's breach. In the meantime, the FBI is asking for tips from any eyewitnesses to the violence yesterday. So in the end, democracy prevailed as the rioters were arrested and escorted out, crews cleaning up all the broken glass, and Congress returning to session for the very important process of certifying the electoral votes.
12 News reporter Kate Walsh joins us now live with how those overnight proceedings went.
Well, tensions were, as you can imagine, still high as Congress returned. They were united in the effort to continue their constitutional duties of validating the election results and condemning those who tried to disrupt those duties.
To those who engaged in the gleeful desecration of this, our temple of democracy, American democracy, justice will be done.
Now, while the results were certified early this morning, it didn't come without argument. As they were debating Pennsylvania's election results, Congressman Connor Lamb lashed out, blaming his colleagues for polarizing rhetoric that he says inspired the rioters to act.
That attack today, it didn't materialize out of nowhere. It was inspired by lies, the same lies that you're hearing in this room tonight. And the members who are repeating those lies should be ashamed of themselves.
Someone say his point of order.
Yes, ma'am. Point of order. The gentleman said that there were lies on this floor here today. Looking over this direction, I ask that those words be taken down.
And tensions just grew from there. Ultimately, they were subdued enough for the certification process to continue. Joe Biden was officially certified, and the next president and his inauguration will be January 20th. Live in the studio, I'm Kate Walsh, 12 News.
Okay, thanks, Kate. Amid all the chaos, members of both Rhode Island and Massachusetts congressional delegations found themselves in the middle of all this, and you're looking at video here of their evacuation.
And as police were working to secure the Capitol, we spoke with some of our local congressmen live via Zoom when they were still locked in their offices. Reporter Alexandra Leslie joining us now with their reactions to the events that unfolded yesterday.
12 News actually spoke with Senator Jack Reed moments before the Capitol went into lockdown, and the safety of hundreds of lawmakers was put into jeopardy.
There was a small group. They began to get larger, but it was relatively peaceful. At some point, they began to storm the Capitol. They actually breached the Capitol.
Everybody stay down! Get down!
The U.S. Senate recessed and congressional members were moved to other undisclosed locations. Rhode Island's congressmen watched the chaos unfold from their locked offices.
Never been anything like this on Capitol Hill. This is not a peaceful protest.
Both of Rhode Island's Democratic congressmen told 12 News they put the blame on the president for inciting violence.
He encouraged his supporters to come to Capitol Hill and do everything possible to stop it from happening. And, that's exactly what happened.
Sworn in just days ago, Congressman Jake Auchincloss of Massachusetts' 4th District said he and his colleagues were committed to returning to the House floor.
It's a dark day for our democracy, but we're not going to let this mob define who we are as a country.
Rhode Island's most junior member of the state's congressional delegation teamed up with several of his colleagues on the House Judiciary Committee to write a letter to Vice President Mike Pence urging him to invoke the 25th Amendment.
This is conduct which is impeachable, and the President of the United States should be impeached. We should convict him and preclude him from ever holding this office again.
And in a tweet, Cicilline also said that if Vice President Mike Pence did not remove the president from office, then Congress should impeach him. Live in Pawtucket, Alexandra Leslie, 12 News.